Hi guys, my name is Matti Sulanto, I'm a photographer. In this video I'm gonna be ranking some of the popular lens types for street and travel photography. I'm not gonna name any specific lenses, I'm only talking about lens types. Before I begin, I'd like to remind you that these kind of rankings and ratings are not to be taken too seriously. However, I still think that this video or any similar video might help you if you are not quite sure what to take on your travels. And these rankings also usually are only one person's opinion, in this case my opinion, and I don't expect everyone to agree. And if and when you disagree after watching my video, please do share it in the comments down below. Share your rankings in the comments down below. Now let's get started. I'm gonna be rating these lenses in 4 categories. Optical performance, convenience, versatility and bulk. Now I fully acknowledge that the convenience and bulk, they overlap a little bit, but I still chose to have those in separate categories. I also fully understand that in every lens type there are variations. In every lens type there usually is at least 1 or 2 specific lenses that are not so good and maybe 1 or 2 lenses that are really exceptionally good. So the ratings, especially when it comes to the optical performance, they are a little bit like average ratings, but I still hope this gives you some food for thought and ideas. Oh yes, and the points system goes from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best point in each category. Alright, let's go. The first lens type is so-called super zoom lens. Now I don't have any super zooms here, I don't own any, but I have tried out several of them over the years. And by super zoom I mean a zoom lens that covers everything from a wide angle to a telephoto. On full frame it could be something like 28 to 200, 28 to 300. On micro four thirds maybe 14 to 200, 12 to 200 or 14 to 200 or whatever. So from a wide angle to a telephoto lens, like a proper telephoto lens. First, the optical performance, which is compromised of course because of the huge range. However, especially the latest super zooms, they are pretty decent optically, but not in the same class with, let's say, the best primes of course, but you can still get really nice and crisp pictures on these lenses if you know what you're doing. I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 for optical performance. The next one is the convenience, and that's what these lenses are all about. You have one lens that covers everything, and this is why people buy these lenses. So I'm gonna give 5 for the convenience. And the next one is the versatility. These lenses are super versatile, however they usually have a very slow maximum aperture, at least at the long end of the zoom. So they are not very suitable for low light, even though they are very versatile in almost every other situation. So I'm gonna give 4 for the versatility. And the next one is the bulk. These lenses are usually pretty big, not heavy, but pretty big in their own own system. They are usually quite big compared to, let's say, kit zoom lenses or small primes in the same system. So I'm gonna give it 2 for the bulk, and the total score for the super zoom type is 14. The next lens type is the kit zoom lens. Now there are several kinds of zoom lenses sold as a kit with a camera body, but I'm talking about those cheap zoom lenses that you usually can't even buy separately, or at least it makes no sense to buy them separately because you can get them almost for free with a camera body. For APS-C, a typical kit zoom is something like 18 to 55. For micro four thirds, 14 to 42 or something similar. The first category is the optical performance, which varies quite a lot actually between the brands and systems. But generally speaking, especially the latest kit zoom lenses, they are not that bad, especially if you happen to get a good copy. The copy-to-copy variation is also quite big because of probably the lack of a proper quality control, which makes kind of sense because those lenses are so cheap. Anyway, I'm gonna give 3 for the optical performance. The next category is the convenience, and I'd say these lenses are quite convenient. They fit in a small bag, easy to carry around, and they cover the basic range that you usually need from a moderate wide angle to a short telephoto. So I'm gonna give 4 for the convenience. And the next category is the versatility. The maximum aperture usually is quite slow, from 3.5 to 5.6 or even worse than that. So these are not super versatile, especially in low light, and like I said already, the range is kind of limited, very basic and limited, so I'm gonna give it 2 for the versatility. The last category is the bulk. These lenses are usually very compact and lightweight, so I'm gonna give 4 out of 5 for the bulk. So the total score seems to come at 12. And the next category is the standard zoom lens. And I'm talking about the zoom lenses which cover from about 24 to 70 or 80 millimeters with the constant maximum aperture. For example, this Tamron 28 to 75 f2.8. There are also lenses like 24 to 105 f4 for full frame, 12 to 40 millimeter f2.8 for micro four thirds, or 12 to 35 millimeter f2.8 for micro four thirds, for example. So these cover a similar range compared to those cheap kit lenses, but the optical quality is usually better and the maximum aperture is constant f2.8 or f4. The first category is the optical quality. Usually these lenses are quite good optically, not maybe up to the best primes, but still very good throughout the aperture range. So I'm gonna give 4 for the optical quality, 4 out of 5. The next is the convenience, very convenient lenses covering the basic range with the high optical quality. So I'm gonna give 4 for the convenience. And the next category is the versatility. I think these lenses are also very versatile, even though the range is kinda limited, especially at the telephoto end. But especially if you're shooting on a high megapixel camera, you can always crop in and get sort of like a little bit more range at the long end if necessary. The constant maximum aperture, of course, makes these super usable because the aperture stays the same no matter what focal length you are using. And also the low light performance is decent, especially for those f2.8 lenses. So I'm gonna give 4 for the versatility. The last category is the bulk. Now these lenses tend to be quite bulky relative to other lenses in the same system or in the same format. So I'm gonna give 3 for the bulk, 3 out of 5. And the total score for this lens type seems to be 15. The next category is a standard prime or any prime in, let's say, 28 to 50 millimeter range, whatever is your favorite. And we are talking about sort of like normal prime lenses with a maximum aperture of a f2 or f1.8, not lenses like 50 f1.2, super big, super expensive lenses, which in my opinion are not so suitable for travel photography. But then again, if it's your only lens, maybe, why not? The first category is the optical performance. These lenses are usually really good optically. Even the more affordable ones are usually really good optically, especially considering the fast maximum aperture. So I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 for optical performance. The next category is the convenience. Very convenient, only one light prime lens with you. Never have to worry about which focal length to use or anything like that. So simple and very convenient. So I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 for convenience. The next one is the versatility. These lenses only have, of course, one focal length. You can't zoom in or zoom out. So that is a limitation. However, the maximum aperture is usually very bright, something like f2, f1.8. So they are excellent for low light photography or for some shallow depth of field, beautiful bokeh pictures too. So I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 for versatility. The next one is the bulk. These lenses usually are quite lightweight, compact. There are some exceptions, but still, generally speaking, lightweight, compact primes. So I'm gonna give 5 out of 5 for the bulk. And the final score for this lens type seems to come at 18. There's one more category left, and that includes a zoom lens and a prime lens. I think this is a very common combination. The zoom has a lot of range, but kind of a slow maximum aperture, but the prime instead has a bright maximum aperture, but a very limited range. So they kind of complement each other. You can use the zoom lens in bright light, bright sunny days, but then you can take the prime when you go out in the evening, walking in the city, for example. The first category, again, is the optical performance. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 for this combo because they complement each other, and especially the prime usually is very good optically. The next category is the convenience. You have 2 lenses, it makes things more complicated. You always have to decide which one to mount on your camera or which one to take with you. So because of the added complexity, I'm gonna give 2 out of 5 for the convenience. And the next one is the versatility. Very versatile combo. The zoom covers everything else but the low light, and wherever you need bright aperture, then you can always pull out the prime for those situations. So I'm gonna give 5 out of 5 for the versatility. The last category is the bulk. Well, 2 lenses, more to carry, more to take care of, more to worry about, so I'm gonna give it 1 out of 5 for the bulk. And the total score for this combo seems to be 14. Now let's look at the final score, and it seems that the prime lens got the best points. And even though it might be that I'm biased, I'm a huge fan of prime lenses and I usually don't like zoom lenses, but I was still surprised that the prime lens category got the best points. And now it's your turn. Please do share your rankings and ratings in the comments down below if you don't agree with my ratings and rankings here. I hope you found this entertaining and maybe even useful. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon in the next one.